I'll start with being a staff writer. It's really interesting because you're kind of in when you're a staff writer, I guess that's considered entry level for TV. But you're definitely in a support role. So you get to pitch like everybody else. You pitch jokes, you pitch stories, things like that. But you are very much like helping break story, which means like as a room, we'll come up with the storyline, and myself and typically the story editors, which is about a step up from staff writer, we're responsible for breaking down the beats.
All right, well, welcome back to Have a Matt, where we talk all things career. Today I'm here with Amanda, and I'm also here with Deja Harrell.
Hello.
And we're going to talk a little bit about what she does and what's the day in the life of being a screenwriter at Netflix.
So the way that it in TV, like everything is pretty much project based. So like you'll go from show to show. And that is like regardless of what you do in TV, except for if you're like on the corporate side, then it's more of a continuation of a job. But typically a show will go for just maybe like 20 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever, depends on how long the season is of your show. And so from 2019 to end of 2020, I was a staff writer on Netflix's Family Reunion. And it was my first staffing credit, and which was such a great experience. I think writing on a sitcom is really interesting experience because there's with on sitcoms it's like 3 jokes per page. And yeah, so it's really fast paced. And so like not only do you have to come up with like the plot and the storyline, but you have to like learn how to write jokes. And so that wasn't really my specialty coming into television. Um, so I learned a lot, and Meg DeLoach was the showrunner on that show, and so very funny, quick, witty woman. Um, and so I just say that to say that writing on a sitcom is a very specific experience, and it's different. It's the same thing where if you were write on an hour-long drama or a half-hour comedy. So there's different types of shows you can write on. My first just happened to be a family sitcom, half hour. And so it's definitely something you really learn on the job. And I will say, like, as a staff writer, like, the best thing you could do is learn or figure out when to speak and when not to speak. Because the great thing about being a staff writer or even a writer's assistant um, is the listening portion of it. Because there's so many things you won't know until you get into the room as a television writer. And so I think listening is a superpower. Like just pay attention, figure out because also there's a lot of politics when it comes to the writer's room. There's a bit of hierarchy. There's certain seats that are reserved for like a showrunner and the upper level writers. Um, so I think like going in and just paying attention and just being a sponge. And and it's even when you go to different shows, every show has a different way of doing things, even down to like the formatting. You know what I'm saying? Does this show underline the slug lines? Another show might not underline, but they might bold. And so it's even like little things like that that you have to kind of adjust to. um and so what else am I about to say? But yeah, it's being a staff writer, I think, is a lot of paying attention, and just understanding like where your role is. Because a lot of times people really won't tell you. You just kind of have to get in where you fit in. Um, and I think speaking up is important. That's why I said knowing when to speak and when not to. Because if you don't speak at all, it's like, oh, it might come off as you not contributing. But also, if you speak too much, it's like you got to slow your roll. You are the staff writer here. You are pretty much, a lot of times in a support role. But I think you just have to, and I think that's just the thing of life, right? Like understanding when to speak sometimes and when not to speak. Sometimes it's appropriate for you to say something, and sometimes it's not. Um, and then also, like I said, the culture of every room is different. And so I was my first time in, had a very warm and welcoming room. I know a lot of people don't have that kind of experience. Also, it was pretty much everybody was of color. So that was another positive thing that I got. A lot of people don't experience that. Um, but like I was able to be surrounded by people who, doubled as mentors, the upper level writers as well, and they really helped, bring me in and train me. Um, and were super nice about it. So I was very spoiled in that way. But there's still things that people just won't tell you. And you just have to kind of pay attention and just figure it out for yourself. And you will sometimes mess up and speak too much or whatever. And people, you'll figure it out. It's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or you'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, it really is, no experience is the same. So anybody who is, new to it or trying to break in, it's no way to really prepare you for whatever room you get into because it'll be different. But like I think honestly the best advice I would have from my experience is like pay attention and just kind of like and feel it out. But also be confident and like don't be scared. Like speak up. If you have a good joke or a good, pitch or whatever it is, like you should go for it. But sometimes, it is like it might be hard because it's like it's a lot of people speaking at one time and it can be difficult to be heard. But you just, you gotta go for it when you can.
That's like I thought of one question like while you're talking about everything was
Mhm.
when you have you ever walked in a room and like thought about a line or like a joke and you're like, oh, this one's gonna kill, and you just told somebody and they're like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, most of the time your pitches won't go like it's like, but that's what is to me so magical about being in a room, because if you say something, there might be a seed of something in it, and then the person next to you will will add something to it, and now it's a joke, now it is something. And so that's another thing, is that I think that people don't necessarily know about rooms, is that everybody does something different. Not everybody is, even if you're in a comedy room, not there is someone who, like in our room, we had everybody could for the most part pitch jokes, but there was like one person who was really the joke guy. Like you go in a room and like, and this is something that I've learned from being a staff writer, that one day if I have my own room, like you don't want everybody to be able to do the same things. Some people might be great at dialogue, some might be good at plot, some might be good at jokes. You know what I'm saying? Some people just might be good at organization. And and you want people that have these different strengths, because then it all kind of works together. Um so yeah, like I personally am not my I've gotten a few jokes here and there, but I'm not the joke person. I'm a little better with structure, and um I'm a little better with structure, a little better with dialogue, those things. But like I know how to put a script together and make sure the story tracks and it's seamless and things like that. But like the jokes, I might have a joke area, but I can't quite put it together, which is fine because you need different people for different things. So yeah, it's a long-winded way of answering that. Yeah, I mean, like your jokes will not land. Jokes won't land, story pitches won't land, but you can't let that deter you, because the whole point is for all these people to get in a room and just throw shit at the wall. And that's the point of a writer's room, is that like there is no like, you're not gonna have a perfect pitch, but just you should say it. And sometimes it'll be dumb as hell, or not dumb, but like just like that really doesn't make any sense. But it's like, oh, but if we did go that way, here's what we could, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I love about that energy, is that everybody working together because everybody has the same goal. So that's the cool thing about pitching, is like you won't land, and sometimes it will hurt your feelings and your ego a little bit, but it's we're all working together to keep our wheels turning to figure out the best way to write the show.
I
Hmm.
know you spoke to some of these things before, saying like listening's a big one, knowing when to speak and not to speak is a big one. But what are some other transferable skills that you think that someone who's starting out could try and develop that would benefit them in a writer's room?
What do you mean transferable skills? Like,
Like even the fact of being organized, or knowing when to speak up, or being a good team player, things like that, like stuff that they could get from another job that would benefit.
Oh yeah, being a team player is huge because the writers' room is a team. Like nowadays, like mini rooms are a thing where there's just like 2 or 3 people, but largely and traditionally rooms, you know, it could be 5 to 10 people or whatever it is. But I was in a room, I think of maybe 8 or 10. Especially on sitcoms, they're a little larger. But yeah, I think being a team player is huge. It's huge because you're sitting in a room with other people, other brains all day, every day, just figuring out how to write this show. And you have to like know, because it's just like if somebody pitches something and if you like snarl at it, nobody wants to. That's like, and also too, another big thing is like TV is a relationship based business. Entertainment in general is a relationship based business. And if when people put rooms together, they're thinking about who they like to work with, which is why there's a lot of nepotism. Well, there's a lot of reasons for nepotism, but that is one reason. Or people hire their friends or people that they've already worked with because you really are sitting in a. Talent is one thing, but also nobody wants to work with assholes, especially in this day and age. Like the culture is changing. Like if you are hard, difficult to work with, or you're like a mean person, or you shoot people's pictures down, or you think that everything you pitch should go, and you can't like stifle your ego. No one wants to work with you, and then it's gonna be hard to be because to get the next job, they're gonna call your last job. The showrunner. They probably and whatever job you're going to next, they probably know the person who was the showrunner on your current show or one of the writers on your current show, and they're going to ask like, do you enjoy this person? Do you like working with this person? So you do have to know how to work with people. It's not like they have to be your best friends, but like you're sitting in a room, and a lot of times you're sharing personal stories to mine stories for the show or to mine jokes. And if people don't want to sit next to you and eat snacks all day and pitch stories and frankly talk a lot of shit because that's what you're gonna do. Then no, then it's hard to do that. So I think that yes, being a team player, I think organization is a thing. I mean, focusing is a thing because it can get difficult to focus in a room sometimes. And also, like I would say, even memory is a thing because, like, even as a staff writer, we'll pitch stories and the producers are thinking about so many things that somebody might forget that we did a story similar to this on season 1, or we had a story similar to this, that we've already written and it's been table read or whatever, or we did this joke, we did a similar joke. So like you have to really stay on top of it. And so I think that's also where organization comes into play. Like I said, having decent memory skills, listening skills, um, because that is what is also going to want people to like, oh, they your showrunner will pay attention to that, or the upper level writers will pay attention to that. Oh, that person is listening, that person is locked in, they're focused. So that's important. I would also say, what's another transferable skill that like people have at other jobs? Um, That's a really good question. What are some good transferable skills? I don't know. Yeah, I mean that I feel like that is I'm sure I'll think of something else, but that's like the bulk of it. But yeah, I think a huge thing is definitely being a team player. Definitely being a team player because and a lot of those people go on, some people will be in the room selling shows. You know what I mean? So like if people can like be like, "Oh, I like working with this person and they're talented. Let me hire you on this show I just got on CBS," or whatever it is. Like that happens. It happens a lot. So I would say like being someone that people like know how to work with other people is really a huge positive. Huge, huge positive.
I think one question I had jotted down was like, what's a day in a life for you? Like, what do you like start out with, middle of the day, and then how do you wrap it up
Like today or when I was working?
when you were working?
when I was working. Um, so I was in LA. Right now I'm in Chicago. But when I was in LA working, so I'll go COVID, I'll go pre-COVID and COVID. So pre-COVID, um, yeah, I mean the most rooms don't start till about 10 or 11. I mean, but that's LA. That's how LA is. Like nothing like it's just not a thing to be somewhere at 8 a.m. Um, but so I think there are some rooms that are very strict about like coming in early. Because the earlier you get there, the earlier you can leave. Sometimes depends. Um, but no day is the same. So yeah, so we were strolling between 10 and 11. Um, and you literally sit in a room and just snack all day. You snack all day and you talk to people and you put stuff on the board. And it depends on what the assignment is for that day. Like, do we need to re-break a story from another episode? Do we need to start a rewrite for another episode? Sometimes we'll break up into groups and somebody might tackle the re-break, somebody might tackle the rewrite. Are we just pitching today? Is today a table read? So table read days are usually, you're going to be working late because you read it with the cast, with the producers, whoever else, the network, and that's where all the notes come in, right? You get all the notes, so now you got to stay late to implement all these notes. And they're going to be notes, always notes. And then the next day, typically, and this is for a sitcom, and the next day after table read, you'll have, and this is one of our longer weeks. So after a table read, you'll have, let's say, I think it's the network run through, which means you'll rehearse the entire show with the network watching. And the network will give their notes from give their new notes. We'll go back in, we're probably staying late. We might have to re-break an episode, or it might be simple and we can just add these notes here, make a couple of tweaks and adjustments. And then there's going to be a producers run through. And I think the producers run through and then the network run through. And then we'll start shooting. Shoot nights are long. But yeah, so like let's say table read, we have to re-break a story, which means we're going to be there very late. And typically as a staff writer, you and the writer's assistants might be the last ones there because you and the writer's assistants are typically responsible for like spell checking. So after everything is done, everybody goes home. Like myself and the writer's assistants will read through the whole episode again, make sure everything is tracking, make sure everything is spelled correctly, make sure formatting is right, the characters' names are in the slug line or whatever it is, because that script has to be sent out that night because the actors need it that night for the next day for the run through. So it's like that's hard to answer because no day is the same. Some days you might get out by 5 or 6. Some days you're not getting out to midnight, maybe later than that. But typically you're gonna start by 10 or 11, and then you are mostly sitting in a room. You're sitting in a room and just talking to people, but that's why I like comedy though, because in a comedy room, you're cracking jokes all day because you're pitching jokes. And it gets so fun. Like I loved it. Like you really are laughing all day. And it does get frustrating and it gets hard because it is writing. Um, and it's a thinking game, but it's super fun. And if you like that, that's why I say it's nice to work with people that you like because you could be there all day. But yeah, so that was pre-COVID, and I worked at Paramount, so that was dope. Like I would drive from my apartment, go into Paramount, and you have a key card, and you're parking on the lot, and you see all these other movies being filmed, and so it's like it is like mind blowing, especially your first time, because I'm like, oh, like this is Hollywood, like this is what I wanted to do my whole life, so it was exciting. But post COVID, I came back home to Chicago. And I mean, that is really you just sitting on Zoom. You don't get the snacks, you don't get the lunch, it's not, and they reimburse you for that, but like, it's not, it does not hit the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. But yeah, it's just like how we're sitting on Zoom right now. like that. This is what being in a Zoom room is like. Cause like we're just on camera and we're just pitching story back and forth, and the showrunner will, if they're in the room, because showrunners do a lot of things. They literally run the show, but if they're in the room, they'll delegate or they'll tell one of the upper level writers what the tasks are for the day, and we'll start working on those things. And that's pretty much what it is. It's like a regular job. In some respects, it's like a 9 to 5. You come in, this is what needs to be completed today, or completed by the end of the week. This is what we need y'all to start on today. And or we'll do, we need some joke pitches for this line. And yeah. But also, I will say shoot nights. That's when it's really different, because you'll go and you'll be on set shooting all day, and all the writers, most times the writers are there. Um, at least on a sitcom, I can't speak for any other format, but on a sitcom, we're all there specifically for joke pitches. And so we're watching it happen before COVID in front of a live audience. And this a joke might not land, and our showrunner will come running back like, hey, we need joke pitches now for this, that, and third. So it's really fun and fast paced. But that is another version of what a day in the life of being a staff writer on a sitcom would be like. But yeah, it varies. It's the same most times, but like it's also different every day, which is kind of cool.
That seems just like a lot of times, but I feel like it'd be super fun just to have like different days going in and out.
It is. It's a lot. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I will say that
Oh,
this
you're
is
fine.
why it's nice that you only work for so many weeks in a year. Like, unless you go right on the next show, but like that's what's cool, is that like this isn't 365 days out the year.
Like you're in your bubble, you're in the zone for the project, and then when you go, you go.
Yeah, once the season is done, once it's the written part is done, I mean, you're done. And so you either take a break or you go on another job. So that's what I like about this too. But that's what's scary about it, is there's no guarantee that you'll get another job. So it really is a hustle. Like if you can deal with that kind of like uncertainty, then it is fun.
Thank you. So starting out looking for that first job to break in, what were some of the pieces that you had in your portfolio? What would you recommend that others, like key pieces that they have in their portfolio?
Mm-hmm. So I get this question a lot. So I before I graduated college, I went to University of Illinois Champaign campus. My senior year, I made a web series called Seeds, and I took that web series to a bunch of festivals like that following in 2018, which was super fun. And that's how I ended up getting an agent by the end of 2018. And then top of 2019, I moved to LA in like February of 2019. And then of October 2019, I got staffed on my first show, which is really fast. Like that is a fast track journey for most, that is not common. But I can't say that making a web series, you'll get there faster. I will say that now that living in the digital age, a lot of people are going that way, because it is how a lot of people get work now. I mean, but you can get work just from your tweets. Like I know people who have been staffed just because they tweet funny. They all their tweets are jokes. Or, it's super different now. Like it's not the same route where you become a PA or you become a writing assistant, there's so many ways to get in. And that was just my journey. But I will say that like if you have the resources and the patience to make a web series or something like that, or something that you could put out on the internet, because then you add to your portfolio. And my whole thing was I didn't want to go to LA without a portfolio. I was fully prepared to be an assistant or whatever I needed to do, and that's not how it went for me. But I will say that like if you had, and I had the resources, I was a PA at a production company in college, and they helped me make it. So I had that. I utilized my resources, and it worked out for me. But there are so many ways. Like I can't say one way or another, because so many people, what I will say is like, what for writing specifically, what everybody needs to do is write. you should have samples. You should have, and when I say samples, I don't mean like, I'm not saying go write 5, 10 scripts a year. You need to have a strong sample that reflects your style, and is reflective of the kind of show that you want to write on. Like, if you want to write hour-long dramas, your sample shouldn't be a half-hour comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you want to do both, have a half hour, have an hour drama. Or if you want to do sitcoms, some people literally have samples for every category. I'm not like that. I only want to write on half-hour comedies, at least right now. So my samples skew that way, and I don't even have that many samples. I know that there are people who will have a lot of samples, but to me, the most important thing about samples is that it's strong. You know what I mean? And that takes a long time, especially when you by yourself. Because when you're in a room with people, it's a bunch of people writing the same thing. But when you're alone, it's really hard. So I would say the number one thing is just to write and like try. You might go through a couple different types of scripts or a couple different drafts before you get to something that you feel is strong and you're comfortable with. And a lot of ways the to get jobs is the easiest way is to have representation. So an agent or a manager, but sometimes that's hard. And people have gotten like I got an agent from my web series, and through her I was able to get staffed. I know a lot of people who have done it that way. And I know a lot of people who were able to get an agent strictly from their sample, but it is hard to get samples to agents. And nowadays people are kind of looking for, how can I watch your work, right? Um, so I would say that like that is a strong way in, but that's not promised. Um, so I would just say like I would try whatever you can. Like if you can't if it's not feasible to move to LA because it's so expensive out there, if it's not feasible for you to go out there and be a PA for however long, then yeah, like stay home and utilize your resources and make stuff and write stuff and link up with other friends who are kind of on the same wave as you who want to make things. Because even if you're not staffed now, you can make what you want and you can get an online following and people will pay attention to that. So I don't even think that you don't have to wait on Hollywood these days. You don't have to go to LA to get things started and get things moving. But to break in, yeah, like people are looking for more than samples now. But it's so I don't know. Like I know people who have gone all kind of routes. So it's really hard to say. I think it really just depends on what you want to do, who you are, and what is most feasible for you. Because honestly, like to break in, it is expensive to do. Because if you're gonna go to LA and be near all that stuff, you have to support yourself. And most people don't, you know what I mean? Like it's difficult. So yeah. It's yeah, that's a hard question to answer because there's just so many ways to do it. But that's how I was able to do it. With the web series and then getting an agent and then getting staffed. But even now, I'm the last time I was on the show in December and it's what month is it? It's July, which is cool because it's been a pandemic and things have been slow. Like I'm chilling, but like you get the first job, which is hard, and then you got to get the next job, and then you got to get the next job. So I mean, it's a fickle business, and you just have to hustle. So there's no one way, and but the good thing is that when you're in, you'll meet people, and people will refer you to different things and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. You just gotta start and jump in because I promise you, nobody's gonna have the same story. Like there is no one way to get in. You just have to start and do what's best for you, and just and just and knock down some doors whenever you can because you'll get there. It might take a while. It might be tomorrow. 'Cause it's different for everybody. But it really does depend.
But the last question was describe the last few days, either with a song or an album. So like the
The
last few
last
days of like your life.
under control of the internet. I would say is the last couple of days for me. I would say that's been my whole fucking year. I'm sorry, I don't know if we should be cursing or I should be cursing, but it's been like my whole year is just like under control, the internet.
So, Deja, I wanted to ask because so when they told me I was going to be interviewing you, I did my homework a little bit. Like I went to go check out your profile on LinkedIn, and I was like, okay, let me make sure I have these questions right. And I wanted to get something that was a little bit more in depth. And I noticed that you had some positions that were more like social media focused and copywriting, and then as well as balancing that with your film work. Was that something that was intentional, and were you always wanting to do both, or was one an end game to get to another?
Yeah, I was like really just like the copywriting, or I worked at a PR agency. That was just me trying to make money after college until I got to TV. TV has always been my goal. It's the only thing that I want to do, right now at least, as writing wise. And it's like the only thing I've ever cared about career wise. So yeah, all that was just like making money, passing time, not really, not really anything I like really, really, truly wanted to do. It's just, you know, but yeah. Yeah, I don't really like to do any other kind of writing other than screenwriting, which my friends laugh. One of my best friends is also a writer, and she writes. She's mostly a journalist, but she does some creative writing too. And she always laughs. She's like, "If you write, like you should be able to just write." And I'm like, "No, that's not how it works. No, it's not how it works. I don't want to write a blog. I want to write scripts."
Was it easy to move between studios as an additional production assistant then to a production assistant?
PA position, because I did a PA position at in college. I did two PA things in college. I worked for like a couple days. I did Shameless on Showtime, which was so long ago, and I can't really remember anything about it. Um, and then I PA'd at Shattered Glass Studios, which was on near my campus, which is a small it's a small production company, but shout out Shattered Glass, they're really cool. Um, and they helped me make my first web series, which I said before. But like they are just it was a small, it wasn't like a huge studio, it wasn't like and it was super chill, like they're super laid back, they do a lot of indie stuff. But I think my experience working on like a really big studio was at Paramount when I was writing. But that was my first like big studio experience.
And
Mhm.
how did you like working at those big studios? Like, what did it feel like? What's the like? Did you get that feeling of, oh, I finally made it? Like, I'm in the room.
Hell yeah, because it's like you walking around Paramount and like there's so many things that get filmed there. There's so much history there. And then you just see people like in costume. And then, I mean, you never know who's on Paramount's lot or any lot. You know what I'm saying? I just specifically was on Paramount. Um, and then you can peek into other studios where other sets are, or you see people building sets. Like it's wild. It's really crazy because it's like you see this, you see a version of that on, or you've seen a version of that on TV, but then like to actually be there, it's like this is insane. This is really insane. So like, yeah, it is like when you rolling up to Paramount, you have a parking spot and an ID badge. Like, yeah, you like what is happening to me? But it's really cool though, and it's really fun. Like I mean, at least to me, I liked it a lot.
For were you approached for your job to work at Netflix, or did you apply for the job? Because I know you were saying a lot about the referrals and like it's a relationship based.
Yeah. So I no my so what happens is when you have an agent or a manager, typically your agent will submit your sam like they this agents find out about the jobs, right? Because agency managers, but sorry, agents typically know about the jobs because the jobs you aren't gonna find staff writing jobs like you can't just apply. This is the way that they weed out like different because anybody can say they're a writer, but this is why people have representation because there are people who are able to weed out. It's like so networks or whatever. I don't know really know how agents find out about these jobs, but they do know about the jobs and they will submit you to whatever is the kind of show that you might want to write on, or you might be a good fit, or whatever it is. So my agent submitted me for that job. I got the interview, and then I got the job. So yeah, but I have been called by like people I worked with on family reunion, like, hey, like I'm doing this. I definitely I want to keep you in mind. Send your samples here, that type of thing. So,
Who would you say are some of your inspirations when it comes to writing?
ooh, not to be cliche, but definitely Issa Rae, obviously. Just because I respect her journey, and I feel like after seeing her do Awkward Black Girl and then get to HBO, it's like, oh, like there's another way to do this. Like I don't have to PA or whatever. When I respect that journey, it's just like it can be different. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for everybody. And then also too, I just like how she's branded her style of comedy. Like it's very awkward and black and whatever. But for me, I'm leaning more towards I want to do dark comedy. So it's not even so much I feel like my style is similar to Issa. I just really like that she has figured out what her voice is. And I think her voice is so strong, and I think it's so dope. I feel the exact same way about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who did Fleabag, um, Killing Eve, and she's super dope. And I think she has a really strong voice, and it's just hers. Like I like writers who have like when you go watch an Issa Rae show, or you watch another Phoebe Waller-Bridge, like Phoebe Waller-Bridge has a darker, more cynical type of humor. And so when you go and watch Killing Eve, or you go and watch Fleabag, that's what you get. Totally different shows, totally different paces, but you know what you're gonna get out of that. And so, when you watch something like Issa Rae, the music's gonna be good, you're gonna laugh, and it's probably gonna be kind of awkward. And so I enjoy that, and I really like them for that. I think Donald Glover is another one. I think he has a very he has an offbeat type of humor, and the music is gonna be good. Um, what's another one? Um, Also another person I admire is Amy. What's her name? Amy Sherman Palladino or something like that. She did Gilmore Girls, um, the amazing, what is it called? That show on Amazon.
The
Hold
Mrs.
on.
Maisel thing?
Yeah. And what I like about her writing though is that, again, it's a very specific style. The dialogue is very it's sharp and it's rapid, quick fire type of dialogue. And so I like that she has a style. Um who else? There's a couple people that I can't even really that I know that I'm forgetting. Those are just top of mind. Um, but yeah, I would say like typically the people that I like and that I like I really indulge in are typically people who have a specific kind of style, because that's what I've been trying to figure out for myself. It's like, okay, what's my style? Like what kind of comedy do I want to write? 'Cause there's all different kinds. And so then I will also say another person that I admire is my previous showrunner, Meg Deloach, just because, I mean, for a lot of reasons. I mean, she was an incredible leader, but also like she was so quick on her feet and just super smart, super witty, sharp, um, and she just knew, and funny. Like she just knew how to, like, even the scripts that she wrote, it's just like, oh, like you have a really like strong grasp on this. So like I admire that. Like not only are you an incredible writer, but you're a great leader. So like the other people that I named, I can't speak for their leadership style, but Meg I saw directly. And I know I've even read her scripts. She's a great writer. And if I would ever be a leader, like I would like to lead similarly to that. She's very fair, um, a very fair person, very diplomatic, just like, but also like structured. Like this is what we need to do. This is how we're gonna do it, and would challenge us to be funnier, to write sharper. So that's another person that I would say. Of
I
course.
think I was wondering about, like, because I know you were naming off like writers and everybody. I think there's one person that's stuck in my head that I was gonna ask you about. And that was Kenya Barris.
Yeah, I think Kenya Barris is cool. That's another thing. He has his own world, right? And I think when you can do that, because like I think Issa Rae has her own world. I think Kenya Barris has his own world. Um, and I like what he's done with the sitcom format. And I think he has is you know sitcoms are it's what traditionally what TV has been, and we've deviated from that a lot. But I think what he's been able to do with the sitcom format and still keep it fresh and modern and current and funny. You can turn on any episode and you're gonna get it's like the jokes are sharp. Um, so I haven't seen the other issues. I've only mostly seen Blackish. I think I've seen a little bit of Black AF, so I can't necessarily speak for the other ones. Although I did see some Grownish, and I thought that was cool. But like, I do like that he has branded his type of comedy. He's branded, the kind of shows that he writes. So, but I don't. If what you'll notice about the other writers I named, outside of I think Amy Sherman Palladino and Meg does mostly sitcoms, but like with Phoebe Issa Donald, um, their shows are half-hour dramedies, which is where I'm going with it. And so I study those shows a lot more because that is the style of TV I want to write. Yeah. But yeah, but any writer I think that can find their niche, and like this is I think that is invaluable because now you have something that people are looking for, but that nobody else can do. Nobody else can do Issa Rae. Nobody else can do a Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Nobody else can make an Atlanta. Nobody else really can make a Blackish. Only people you can only write and make what is true to you. Like you can take from those shows and be inspired by it, but what I'm seeing in TV is like if you even if you're not the strongest writer or whatever it is, but like if you have a point of view, you have a perspective, you have a voice, and something that is honest and fresh and not like everybody else's. I think that that is something that like Hollywood is really craving right now. Because there's so much TV, and it really is becoming oversaturated. So I think those golden nuggets, like the people that I've named, like they've been able to shine because they have a very specific thing that they're doing.
You see there being more mobility now that if for writers and writers rooms, given that everything's gone virtual, like do you think people are looking wider for those that have those golden nuggets, or do you still think it's down to the main hubs of like LA, New York? I know in Canada it's Vancouver's the main one.
Uh-huh. I would say yes and no. I think the thing about TV though is that people understand is that it is very conservative and it's very like stuck in its ways, right? And I think COVID has challenged that and having to open things up a little bit. Um, but I think now that it's virtual, it's you kind of have no reason not to, let somebody from Vermont write or whatever it is. But also I can't say because when things really open back up, you know, I think what will happen is that you will have the choice to not be in the room all the time because it's possible for you to be virtual. I think that that is a thing of the future, but like Hollywood is where it is, and that's not gonna change. I think that are gonna loosen up, but the thing about writing, like the magic of the writers' room, is super special, and you get tired of Zoom looking at the screen all day. Like it's nothing like being in the room and being able to feed off people's energy and like. But what I do like now, I think that people will have the flexibility of being virtual. But I can't say that will. What I will say is that I think it'll make it easier to become a writer from a different place because you can take your meetings virtually. Like now, you don't have to be in LA, to find an agent or to take meetings. Because before, you had to be there because it's like, how are you going to meet with the people at ABC or at Netflix? All their offices are in LA. But now set up a Zoom. I can stay here. Like, I don't plan to go back to LA. I don't plan to, like, why would I pay LA rent just to get another job when it's gonna like hit me on Zoom? And if I need to be there, I'll come. So I think that in that way it will be a little bit more fluid.
That's kind of it for the questions on my end, Stephen.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it for me too. And it's perfect timing as well. So just thank you, Deja. Thank
Of
you,
course.
Amanda.
Thank you so much for putting this together and for coming, Deja, again.
Of course. Thank y'all for having me. All right.
All right. Well,
It was nice meeting y'all.
it was nice seeing you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.